Hello and welcome to Retirement UTV. I'm Sarah Peterson, your consumer advocate. I'm here with Brian Quaranta, and he is the founder and president of Secure Money Advisors. And it's so great to see you today.
It's good to see you
Last
again.
time we did not get all the information out, but this time we're going to try. I feel like there's so much to talk about.
Yeah. Well, that's why I encourage people to come out to the educational events. You know, folks, I mean, if you go to www.securemoneyadvisors.com, you can go to the events tab and come out to one of our educational events. So if you've been watching the show for a while, and you're like, wow, there's just a lot here. Well, there's a lot to talk about, and you can learn a lot more at the educational events.
I love this because this is a part of our education that we really don't learn in school.
They don't, right?
And so then we get out of school, we get our first job, we're so excited, we have money coming in, maybe a 401k, and we think we're rich. We have literally no idea what we're supposed to do with it.
Yeah.
And we spend most of our lives like that without a plan.
Right. I mean, think about how scary that is. So all of a sudden, if you go back in time and you go back 30, 40 years ago, when retirement planning was really easy, when you actually retired with something called a pension, and you didn't have to think about how you were going to get that additional income, because when you retired, you probably got a gold watch, you knew the date you were going to retire, and you got Social Security and a pension. And that was more than enough, right? Social Security pension was more than enough to maintain your lifestyle, do all the things you want. If you had a little extra money, maybe you could take it down to the bank, put it in an account, that would generate some additional interest. Simple. Today, employers, it didn't take them long either, because the employers said, well, why should we monitor and have this legacy cost of managing this pension plan? This is so expensive. Let's still give them a retirement account, but we're going to let them figure out how to generate this income for the rest of their lives. So you've got doctors, accountants, nurses, steel workers, mechanics, union workers, all retiring in their specialty, brilliant at what they do. And now you're saying, oh, by the way, you need to take this chunk of money that we've been accumulating for you over the years. You need to figure out how to get income from it for the rest of your life. And just, by the way, I know there's some longevity now, because longevity's gone up, and you just got to make sure that when you take this income, you don't run out before you die. Yeah. I mean, think about the monumental task that we're asking people to do here.
Well, you know, it's like they're asking them to be their own financial advisor.
That's exactly right.
Just like when you become a parent and you're a parent to a small child, right, 18
Yeah.
months old.
That's right.
When you become a parent, all of a sudden you're like, wait, I need to know how to do really everything,
That's
right?
right.
You don't. Nobody tells you you're a driver, you're a chef, you're
Right.
all those things. We can't always be our own financial advisors. We can just learn how to make the money, and then we need somebody professional to tell us what
That's
to
right.
do with it.
I mean, I could probably perform my own heart surgery these days just by watching some YouTube videos.
I watch Grey's Anatomy, so I know a lot about
You know, or I could consult with Dr. Google and try to figure it out and perform my own knee surgery. I don't think I'd take the risk, though, and I think financial planning is the same way. You know, our industry's probably got a little bit of a black eye, and in my opinion, some of the things that were done in the past probably weren't the best for people because it was a real transaction-based business. But I'm really proud of where the industry's going.
Well, you've been in this industry, what, 21
years? Yeah, so we've seen it change a lot.
Yeah.
We've seen it change a lot. You know, it's gone from stock picking days to actually putting together portfolios based around mutual funds, stocks, bonds, annuities, to now just providing financial advice. So like when people come into our office, I mean, we can either implement the plan for them, and we charge an annual fee to do that, or we can just charge them a flat rate, and we'll build them a plan, and they can go take and do it themselves. I mean, usually, you know, when we do that, they'll come back, you know, after like 3 or 4 meetings and go, you know, have you gone through all of this? I think it might be better if you just implement this.
I don't blame them because it can get rather complicated.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Well, I know
But
that.
simple. Complicated, but simple. Yeah.
Well, you have simplified it
We
so
have
much. So
simplified
you
it,
have what you call the right track retirement system.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'd love for you to break the steps down so people can really understand what this is.
Well, really the steps are, there's 5 key areas, and this is, I see it missing in everybody's portfolio when I get together with them, because when I talk to people and I say, tell me a little bit about your current situation, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your advisor, when you get together for your annual reviews, give me an idea of what you're talking about, what challenges are you guys looking to solve for? Have you guys covered how you're going to generate income? You know, some people will say, oh yeah, we talked about it. We're going to use this thing called the 4% rule. Oh my gosh. You know, that get a heart attack when I hear it. We're going to use the 4% rule. And
this is what you hear all the time.
We hear it all the time. And for most people that don't know, the 4% rule, the best way I can describe the 4% rule to you is it's an outdated strategy to generate income in retirement. Typically, if you were retiring with like $1 million and you took 4% for your first year's withdrawal, that would be $40,000. And then they say you could increase that withdrawal by 3% a year. The problem is the Harvard Business Review, the Wall Street Journal have all come out and said it doesn't work anymore because bond interest rates are lower than what they were when this thing was created. Stock market volatility is up. And there's over a 57% chance potentially that you could fail if you use this strategy. I always say, if you want to use this strategy, that would be like you going out and buying a cell phone from the 1980s. Remember what the cell phone looked like from the 1980s?
Hello.
I think of Michael Douglas on Wall Street, right? When he says blue Anacott, what is it? Blue Anacott loves whatever. I can't remember. Blue horseshoe loves Anacott steel. That's what he says.
Good memory.
So anyway, but using the 4% rule is like having this old 1980s cell phone.
57% too is quite a chunk. If someone tells me I have a 57% chance of living tomorrow, I really don't want to take that risk.
Right. I mean, could you imagine if you were about to board an airplane and right before you're about to back out of the gate, the captain gets on the intercom and says, "Hey, folks, I just want you to know we got word from the tower. There's only a 57% chance we're going to arrive to our destination tonight. If anybody wants to get off, go ahead."
Don't want to go with that.
Yeah, nobody's going to go with that flight. But that's what most people are dealing with when it comes to their investments. So there's a different way to approach it, and that's what we teach people in the Right Track Retirement is to eliminate that loss by doing what we call a bucketing strategy. So number 2 is taxes, because taxes will erode your wealth very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is making sure that obviously you have the right mix of investments. And the idea is when you come in and we walk you through the Right Track system, we're going to walk you through what an analysis of your current situation looks like. Because how do we know if we even need to make any changes? Wouldn't it be nice to know that you actually are maybe in the right place? And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know that? Right? Probably now.
Yeah.
Probably now, right? Not later. So we kind of walk you through where you are right now. And if you have good stuff, we want to keep that. We don't want to change any of that stuff. And then we'll talk about your healthcare strategy, what happens if you have a health event or if you want to retire before the age of 65 and you're going to need a health policy, versus Medicare because you're not old enough to get it yet. And then most importantly, what's it going to look like when the good Lord decides to take you home? So those are the 5 key areas that we focus on in the Right Track Retirement System.
You know what? There is a board game. Have you ever seen it? Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
This is my parents have this game, and I used to tease them about it. But I'm thinking we need the worst case scenario finance version.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
You just give us that so we can plan for all the worst case. Let the viewers out there know what it is that you're offering today.
Yeah, folks, the Right Track Retirement System is really all designed for you. It's to give you the peace of mind and clarity that you need going into retirement, and most importantly, to get through retirement successfully. So if you ever thought to yourself, when is the best time to collect Social Security, or I have to retire and I've got this retirement account at work and I'm going to need to generate income from this, what's going to be the best way to do that? People will say, "Brian, I'm at a point in my life where I really can't take another big market loss. If I do, I just don't have the time to recover." These are the things that I hear day after day after day, and the Right Track Retirement System is designed to bring you through a very disciplined, engineered process to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. We're going to give away a complimentary meeting, no obligation. Next 10 callers who call in, you got to call 1-888-382-1298. This is something you don't want to kick the can down the road with, folks. This is something you don't want to procrastinate on. We don't get a second chance at this. We got to get retirement right the very first time. It's not a dress rehearsal. So take advantage of this complimentary meeting. We're literally going to take the mystery out of financial planning. I'll show you what fees you're currently paying. I'll show you how to create a customized income plan that can literally turbocharge your retirement. And we'll show you a lot more things when you come in. But take advantage of it. We're a very welcoming office. It's not an intimidating process. You'll get a lot out of it, and that's my promise to you. Call 1-888-382-1298 to schedule today.
We're going to have to take a short break, but when we get back, I want to talk about how we can maximize our monthly cash flow, which is on a lot of people's minds. We'll be back shortly.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retirement UTV. I'm here with Brian Quaranta, and I am Sarah Peterson, your consumer advocate, and we are talking about the Right Track retirement system. I have a question for you. How can we maximize our monthly cash flow? This is something on everybody's minds, and as we get towards retirement, we want to make sure that cash is still flowing.
Right, because when you retire, the paycheck's going to stop, but bills, taxes, and everything you want to do on your bucket list is not going to stop. So how do we recreate that paycheck? Well, we do it through an income strategy. Now, the old type of income strategy was the 4% rule, which has a 57% chance of failure, which we've talked about a number of times. And so the way that we do that, there's a number of different tools in the marketplace that we can utilize to maximize cash flow. If you're young enough, the first thing we can do is we can start thinking about tax planning. Because if I can get the money that you currently have from taxable money to tax-free money, now when we go to take withdrawals, we don't owe any taxes.
Okay, you said young enough though. What is that?
Well, I mean, 55 is good.
Okay.
You know, even if you're, if we need at least 5 years to put together a good plan. So even if you're 60, but you're not planning on retiring to maybe 65 or 66, we still have a lot of time to do that. But a good tax planning strategy is going to take a little bit of time, especially if you don't want to pay a lot of taxes now. You know, you can certainly do it in a very short period of time, but you're going to rip the Band-Aid off and it's going to hurt. And I don't think most people are willing to do that.
We're not prepared for that.
No, we're not prepared.
Not after 2020. Don't rip off the Band-Aid, okay?
No. So maximizing the cash flow first starts with the income taxes, right? And making sure that when we take these withdrawals, we don't have to pay taxes. Because every time tax rates go up, if we haven't done any tax planning, let's say we're taking $1,000 a month out and we're in a 20% tax bracket, we're only going to net about $800. But if taxes go to 40%, now we're only going to net $600. Well, why does converting from taxable money to tax-free money make sense? Because that same $1,000 withdrawal at a 20% tax bracket, you're getting $1,000 because you're not paying income taxes on that money when you withdraw it. If tax rates go to 40%, we're getting $1,000. So the first step and the easiest step is to think about converting. If you haven't done that and now you're still dealing with taxable money, now we may have to look for some type of leverage. And what I mean by that is we can get really good leverage on our money by utilizing annuities. Annuities are kind of a dirty word in the industry, but I love them. I personally use them in my situation. They certainly are not suitable for everybody. But I'll tell you my personal story and the reason why I use them. Because at Secure Money Advisors, when I retire, I want to make sure that I have a pension, right? And this is what I teach my entire team, and we do it for the team too, so that they have a source of money that they're accumulating into that is going to pay them a guaranteed income for the rest of their life. And the nice thing about annuities today is that some annuities will guarantee a certain rate of return every single year that you wait to actually collect the income. And that's exactly what annuities were designed for. They were designed to provide guaranteed income. All you're doing when you buy an annuity is you're basically creating a private pension for yourself. That's it. It's that simple. But you shift the risk of running out of money to the insurance company. The insurance company now bears the risk, and they're going to actually guarantee you an income stream for the rest of your life, even if your account balance goes to zero. And people go, well, how does that happen? Well, because just like all insurance companies, they pull risk. Think about all the cars on the road, right? And how we have car insurance. How do these insurance companies pay all this money? We pool risk. Not everybody's going to get in an accident. Not everybody's going to die young, right? Some people are going to live a longer time. So they know that there's only going to be, a small group of people that live beyond the life expectancy that maybe they're expected to live to, which, by the way, in Western Pennsylvania for a male is about 78, and for a female is about 83. Okay, so some of you out there actually need to start living now, right? Because
what's going on over there in Pennsylvania.
Well, believe it or not, the 78 male is actually a national number.
Okay.
That's actually a national number.
My husband says, why do men die younger? Because they want to.
Because they want to.
That's what I think I just
That's
burned
probably
him
a good
down.
one. So these are just the annuities just can give us some leverage. And what I mean is, if you defer these annuities, some of these annuity companies give you 6-7% guaranteed every year you wait to defer it. And then when they start paying you, they might pay you 5.5-6% every single year guaranteed. And even if your account balance goes to zero, they're still going to pay you the income. It's a really good deal. And so now you can take actually a small amount of money, right?
Yep.
And you can create a big pile of monthly cash flow from it. Whereas if you try to do that from investments, you have a big pile of money, but it's only producing this much cash flow.
So what's the downside?
The downside is people will typically put money into an annuity that they need liquid. And that's what you don't want to do, because when you put money into an annuity, there's surrender charge penalties if you come out of them too early. Some annuities, if you die, the insurance company keeps it. But you want to work with annuities that are very flexible. Like, for example, a lot of the annuities we work with, allow you to take out 10% of your account value every year if you needed some cash flow, right? So if you got $500,000 in there, you can take out $50,000 a year. If you die, the balance of the account goes to your family members, so the insurance company's not keeping it. But most importantly, there's a rider protection on there that if you start to take income, let's say $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year, that if that account doesn't perform and it just kind of spends down over time and you're still alive and it hits zero, it'll continue to pay you. So a lot of times when you read stories about people that have had bad experiences, one, they probably bought a bad annuity, because there's lots of companies out there that sell them, and not everyone is created equal.
Okay.
In 21 years of doing this, I would say there's maybe 3 to 5 good companies, and that's it, right?
Wow, okay.
So, and personally owning the annuity myself, I understand how beneficial it is to my family in the long term. And that's just one other way that you can actually leverage money. Like I said, it's not suitable for everybody, but it's certainly something to explore to see if it would benefit the situation.
And if they didn't have a professional like you in their corner, who does work with these annuities all the time and who personally uses them, it would be easy to probably get in a bad situation. So you've got to have a professional, and that's why it's important to have the written plan, because this is just one component.
Yeah, it's just one tool. I mean, think about a dentist or a doctor. I mean, think about a surgeon, right? And how many tools they have laid out before they do surgery, right? And they're assessing the person's situation. And it's the same thing with us. As a fiduciary, our job is to provide a well-rounded plan and give you advice on what the best direction to go. When we decide what financial products to go with, it's based around the needs and the goals of the plan. So we're not just transacting to buy an annuity, right? That's the problem that we have in the industry too, is that people will be sold an annuity with no purpose behind it, and there's no plan behind the way to utilize it. We only use certain investment products as a way to solve a problem, right? And this is what the Right Track Retirement System does. It helps you identify what are the biggest problems that exist in your current portfolio, what are the red flags. And every week I hear at my office, people will say, Brian, I'm not sure what's the best time to collect Social Security. They'll tell me they're going to need income from their accounts. They're not sure the best way to take it. They'll tell me they're scared because they can't afford to take another market loss. Or they'll tell me when they start taking income, they're worried that they may run out. You should not have those fears, because there are solutions and tools available in today's marketplace to address all of those things. And we're going to, for the next 10 callers, we're going to give you a complimentary, no obligation, Right Track Retirement meeting where we're going to go through 5 key areas with you: income, taxes, investments, your health care plan, and of course, legacy. But you've got to do your part. You can't kick the can down the road. You've got to pick up the phone, call 1-888-382-1298 to schedule today. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the concerns that you are seeing your clients bringing to you every day.
Yeah.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hello and welcome to Retirement UTV. I'm Sarah Peterson. I'm here with Brian Quaranta. He is the founder and president of Secure Money Advisors, and we are talking about retirement.
We sure are.
Yeah,
There's
we
lots
are.
to talk about.
There is so much to
It
talk
never
about.
ends. It
I
never
can't
ends.
get all my questions out. Okay, what I want to know is you see lots of people every day.
Yeah.
Everybody's from all different walks of life. Obviously, all of our situations are different in our financial needs. What are the top 3 concerns that people come to you with, or what are the major concerns?
Number one, and most importantly, people will say, you know what, Brian, I don't have a plan, and I need one. I need a written plan because I feel lost. I have so many people that come to me, and they'll bring in their POS, and that stands for pile of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So they bring in their pile of stuff, and they say, look, I own this account, I have an IRA over here, 401k over here. I'm completely lost. It's splintered and splattered everywhere. And they say, I need a plan to pull all of this together and make it all make sense. The second thing that I'll hear a lot of is, you know, what is the best time for me if I'm going to retire? When is the best time for me to collect Social Security? And that's a different answer for everybody too, because some people can afford to actually delay Social Security and wait longer, which can be a benefit because you get an 8% increase a year from Social Security if you do that. The most common thing that I hear, I think that everybody's always worried about, is they can't afford to lose a lot of money. They're just at a point in their life where if they lose a lot of money, they just don't have the time to recover from it. And they realize that now. They know that going into retirement, they cannot keep doing the same things that they were doing during their working years while they were accumulating money. The game changes, the strategies change. So those are probably the most common things that we hear, you know, where people are having those concerns. And if you think about it, it's the number one thing that we need to live. We're talking about cash flow, no matter what, right? Because if they're talking about the fear of their portfolio going down in value because the market goes down, what they're really saying is, I'm scared that I'm going to run out of money.
Yeah.
Right? So it all comes back to, I want to live a certain lifestyle in retirement, and I need a certain amount of income to do that, and I need a plan to be able to make that happen.
And we're all living longer. I know we were talking earlier about life expectancy for a man in Pennsylvania. You said, 78. It could be a lot higher than that for a lot of people in other parts of the country or world. And we don't want to wish ourselves, a shorter life because we may or may not run out of money. So life expectancy and longevity has played a big part. I imagine that our accumulation phase of life can be almost as long sometimes as our distribution phase, depending on when we retire. Some people retire young and then they have 30 years ahead of them,
Yeah, matter of fact, AARP has written on this. A lot of the continuing education that I'm required to do by the state every year, or the SEC, will, when I take these courses, we'll talk about the risk of longevity because it is such a huge risk with people potentially living longer. And they're saying that somebody retiring today could spend a longer period of time in retirement than they actually did in their working years. I mean, think about the monumental task ahead of us here as people have these 25, 30 plus year retirements, and we're taking, 30, 40 years worth of work, and we're gonna say, okay, we're gonna live off this now for the next 30 or 40 years. Do you know how much stuff needs to go right in order for that to work?
It's very overwhelming, I'm sure, for a lot of people, and it can be monumental, but with the proper planning, takes a lot of the worry out.
And I think a lot of people are overconfident too in their situations, right? They haven't addressed the worst case scenarios that we talk about, and because of that, they if the markets are going up, they think everything's fine. But just because your account's going up doesn't mean you're fine. I mean, there's a lot of hidden traps and pitfalls everywhere. Taxes, a health event, right? A loss of a spouse. These are all things that can challenge a financial plan very, very quickly, especially the loss of a spouse. According to AARP, the average loss of income for a married couple is 40%. So let's say you and your husband are planning on retiring, in your early to mid 60s. Well, as long as you live, a good, healthy, long life together, your probability of success goes up. But what happens if you lose your spouse early on in retirement? And now all of a sudden you take this 40% hit in your income in your first 3 to 5 years of retirement. That's very impactful because now you're going to have a 40% reduction in your income. First off, is that even going to be enough money for somebody to live? And second, if it's not and we need to generate more income from the portfolio, what's that going to do? I mean, is the portfolio going to be able to handle that, or is it going to run out in the next 10 years? Because if it runs out in the next 10 years, you're going back to work.
Well, it seems like that life insurance policy you were talking about before comes into play on scenarios like that you wish you had prepared for those things.
That terrible, terrible thing they talk about called life insurance.
I
You know,
mean.
it's probably the most simple and overlooked thing that people miss in retirement planning. And I don't argue with people about it. I mean, you know, if they're against it, they're against it. But I think it's the worst decision they can make, because if a spouse dies and you have $200,000 or $300,000 in life insurance there, do you know how much income that could replace? Now, people will say, well, there's only going to be one of us, so we'll spend less money in taxes, we'll spend less money on gas, we'll downsize to one car, we'll go to one, you know, I'll sell the house and move something out. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, when I do have a death, what I've learned is that women are very, very strong. Men are not as strong as women. And
You're
I'm gonna
just learning this
and I'm going
now?
to tell you right now that when your wife tells you that when you die, she's going to get rid of all your stuff, she means it. And I've seen it happen within 6 months or less.
100%.
So, folks, take advantage of the Right Track retirement system. It really is a thorough system that we've put together to bring you through a step-by-step process to really help you take the mystery out of financial planning. I've seen other people charge $1,000 or more for the type of work that we're going to do for you complimentary, but you've got to do your part. You've got to pick up the phone, call us. Don't kick the can down the road. We don't want to procrastinate on something like this. We don't get a second chance. Get it right out of the gates. This is not a dress rehearsal. Call 1-888-382-1298 to schedule today. Again, call 1-888-382-1298.
I'm sure the viewers out there can see by watching you how enthusiastic you are about
Yeah.
what you do. And I love that. I feel like I would come in and it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
It would just be sitting across the desk having a conversation. It
That's
just
right.
takes a lot of the stress out of it.
Yeah, and it's a very non-judgmental environment, right? We're there to truly help. We truly are empathetic towards everybody's situations, and we're there to be a service and to help as much as we can.
I don't think your wife would do all those things. I think your wife,
She would keep me in the
I'm going
house.
to give her a lot more credit than that. It was so
Yeah.
great speaking with you. And the
Yeah.
next time we come back, we'll maybe get through like 2 or 3 more of the
That's
questions
right.
that I
That's right.
had.
We'll keep plugging away at this. Yeah.
Well, that's all for today, but it was great talking to you. And we will see you soon on Retirement U TV.